So Black Widow is pretty much what I said in the intro of this video. It's the Black Widow standalone movie. Black Widow, the character from the MCU. We see events of her backstory that have been referenced in the MCU before. We see a little more of that. But basically in this movie, there's a big Russian baddie, so she reunites with her Russian family. And Taskmaster's in it. Kind of. And I will say the setup in this movie was actually really good. Everything from the beginning to the beginning credits were actually really good. It does a good job at making you latch onto this family of spies, and you're like, oh, okay, I mean, we already liked Black Widow. You don't really need too much setup for that. But after the setup, the movie, and it has enjoyment in it. The things that I enjoyed in this movie are the things that I generally enjoy in the MCU movies. It's reliable in that way. It has all the action scenes and the CGI action scenes and the set pieces that are also CGI, all the explosions, all the excitement that you would come to expect from a big blockbuster movie coming from the biggest studio on earth. Of course you're gonna get all that in here, but it does kind of run into that Fast 9 scenario. Like my review of Fast and the Furious 9, where I was saying the action sequences are so over the top that they don't feel dangerous. It doesn't always do that in here. There are a couple moments where I was like, yeah, that was pretty intense. But when Black Widow is doing this shit, and you know she doesn't die in this movie because this movie takes place right after Captain America Civil War, and we know how she goes out, and this isn't it, it's just not that exciting. It's cool looking, but that is different. The movie also does that thing that frustrates me about MCU movies in general, is the fact that they always deflect with jokes. Jokes are great. Humor is fine. It can actually add to the experience of enjoyment. But when there's clearly a scene that could have benefited for letting the drama marinate and go to the next step, but they don't, they just crack a joke, it's just frustrating. Like the scene where Florence Pugh's character is talking about her involuntary hysterectomy, and it's just executed in a very jokey, haha MCU kind of way. I was like, yeah, that's a weird way of telling your father figure that you had an involuntary hysterectomy? Pretty heavy topic. Could have been a really good dramatic moment. A moment that could have elevated the movie to the next level, but no. Then there's another scene with Florence Pugh's character. Side note, I really like Florence Pugh in this movie. I think she does everything she can with the script she has. Disclaimer, I think Florence Pugh is generally great, and she is in this movie too. But she has this moment where she really is frustrated, and then David Harbour's character starts singing American Pie because she likes the song and she giggles and sings American Pie, and after that, they could have had another moment to like, okay, let's really form this bond. But no, they get ambushed. Okay, well now David Harbour can have a badass scene to protect her and really show how much he cares. But no, we're the MCU. We're gonna take this moment to just knock out David Harbour's character in a funny way. And that's that. You know, in the script writing process, there are like many eyes that go on the script, which is great. You know, a second pair of eyes. It can catch something that the first pair of eyes doesn't catch. You know, it's a collaborative effort. It's good to have that. But I think the MCU has a dedicated room. A room titled, When It Gets Too Heavy, We Deflect with the Jokes. It's a working title. But I think these people in this room look over the script and like, ooh, that's getting too heavy. Deflect with a joke here. Ooh, yeah, that's gonna elevate the movie way too much. Deflect with a joke here. I think that's how it goes down. And I bring it up because it's happened so often in the MCU, and it happens in here too. But hey, jokes, they play it safe. They're reliably entertaining. And they are reliably entertaining. I mean, David Harbour, like Florence Pugh, does the best with what he has. I mean, David Harbour, when you just want someone to be the brute, you know, like the funny brute guy, he crushes it. He's so good in this movie in that role, but I'm also frustrated that he doesn't have those moments that could have gone the extra step because he's a good actor. He could have done that. Even his fight with Taskmaster, you're like, oh, David Harbour versus Taskmaster, let's do it. This is gonna be epic. But it keeps cutting away before you can really enjoy it. It doesn't give you that opportunity to sit there and just enjoy the fight. And I've heard from some people that Taskmaster was kind of disappointing in this movie. For me, Taskmaster wasn't kind of disappointing. Taskmaster was the most disappointing MCU villain I've seen in the MCU yet. You get so much more development for Taskmaster in the PS4 game. Let me say that again. The menial side tasks you do for Taskmaster in the Spider-Man game for PS4 and the PS5 remaster gives you so much more insight into Taskmaster than this movie ever gives you. It's just weird to me. It's strange to say. Taskmaster in this movie is just some dipshit drone assassin. Also never says a word in the entire movie. Taskmaster is essentially Snake Eyes, which is funny because now Snake Eyes talks. It's like Taskmaster now is how Snake Eyes was before, and Snake Eyes now is how Taskmaster was before. It's like I'm in an alternate universe or something. Regardless, this was my Mandarin moment, you know, when people saw Iron Man 3 and they're big Mandarin fans and they were like, that was not Mandarin. Like, that's how I felt about Taskmaster. Granted, we're getting a mulligan of Mandarin in Legend of the Ten Rings, so who knows, maybe 7 or 8 years from now, we can get actual Taskmaster in the MCU. Until then, we have this throwaway villain. But it does feel like a Frankenstein, a Frankenstitch of other MCU movie concepts that we've already seen that were just thrown into this movie because they were like, fine, fans want their Black Widow movie. Here. I mean, you got the baddie character that comes on scene to cause some problems, Terminator style. After some action goes down, they go to this location in the middle of nowhere to lick their wounds and plan their next move. They have a big final fight scene in a big sky fortress. There's even some X-Men 2 thrown in here for good measure. But it's frustrating because none of it feels inspired. It just feels like they slapped all these things together because they'd seen and done them before and they're like, here, that'll shut them up. Yeah, how can we make this fast, easy, and in a hurry so we can make up for some of that clout we lost? Yeah, just pull from those other MCU movies that we already did and stitch them together into this movie. Yeah, Black Widow, why not? It just feels lazy. I mean, the movie's fine. I wouldn't say $30 on Disney Plus, fine. Maybe it'll be a better time if you're drunk. Yeah, now it's a party.